Good morning, Dan and Amy. So you heard at the top Trump's a portion of Trump's interview with Bill O'Reilly that was taped and aired before kickoff yesterday. And the controversial part of it, the indefensible part of it, in my estimation, where he effectively compared a KGB despot to America when it comes to blood on people's hands. But there was a lot of ground covered in the 10-minute interview that O'Reilly conducted with President Trump. He talked about the Iran deal.
Possible you tear it up?
We'll see what happens. I mean, we're going to see what happens. I can say this. They have total disregard for our country. They are the number one terrorist state. They're sending money all over the place and weapons, and can't do that.
Right, and last week, more missile tests by Iran in violation of the deal, and the response was new sanctions from the Trump administration. Treasury Department publishing a list of 13 individuals and 12 entities facing new restrictions for supporting the missile program, having links to terrorism or providing support for the mullahs in Tehran. So that was not one topic. Another topic was Mexico and his most recent exchange with President Peña Nieto.
At this point, do you consider Mexico a corrupt country? Because this stuff has been going on for decades.
I love the people. I really like this administration. I think he's a good man. We get along very well. But they have problems controlling aspects of their country. There's no question about it. And I would say the drugs and the drug cartels, number one.
Yeah, I mean, most of what he had to say was fairly room temperature and standard issue. He mentioned that as well, that Pence is going to head up a commission to look into voter fraud nationally. He reiterated his stance on sanctuary cities and, frankly, sanctuary states if California wants to go that direction. But it was that...
It was all lost when he stooped to a new low to defend the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin.
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Tim Carney. He, the commentary editor for Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. Tim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So Trump has the benefit of the first overtime game in Super Bowl history. Great comeback. So maybe that will help the Putin comment dissipate into the ether, and particularly the comment about our country being so innocent, ? How is that going to be received on Capitol Hill? Or are people at the stage now where comments like that from Trump are just kind of dismissed and we move on quickly?
Well, Trump has a lot of critics on Capitol Hill on his foreign policy in the Republican Party, notably Marco Rubio, who came out and immediately chastised the comment. And you've had guys like Lindsey Graham and John McCain. So that Rubio, McCain, Graham is sort of the more hawkish wing of those are probably the three biggest hawks in the U.S. Senate, and they're very critical of Trump on lots of things, on what they see as his softness towards Russia. And in this case, as you say, he defended Vladimir Putin's regime murdering people by comparing it to the U.S. And the problem is, though, what is the Senate going to do about it? What is anybody going to do about it? So Rubio can gripe about it, but Rubio has a history of griping about name-calling, attacking, fighting Donald Trump, and then when the rubber meets the road, giving Trump what he wants. So Trump will get criticism, but I don't know if Donald Trump cares if little Marco, says something mean about him on Meet the Press.
Oh, not that again, little Marco with the little hands. But I mean, Donald Trump was basically insinuating that we engage in the same type of behavior that Putin does. And do you think he needs to apologize, though? Or do you think that this will just be forgotten and in a few more days we'll have another controversy?
So it wasn't new for me to hear that. I'm a Giants fan, so we know how to beat the Patriots. Unlike the
oh boy. All right.
It was like how Democrats say they should have nominated Bernie. The NFC should have nominated Eli this time around. But in New York State public schools, this is what all my public school teachers told me. Oh, you can't curse. The Khmer Rouge or whatever. Look at all these people that the U.S. killed. I mean, this is what we were fed as public school propaganda, anti-American stuff. And maybe Donald Trump absorbed that living in New York City or something, because it's pretty bad. But will he apologize? When was the last time he apologized? I don't
Access Hollywood tape.
Yeah, that's about right. By the way, just a point of order, Mr. Carney. Eli Manning couldn't even defeat Larry Fitzgerald for NFL Man of the Year. It was a tie.
Yes, but when it comes to one thing of beating the Patriots,
yes,
again, Bernie Sanders couldn't beat Hillary, but who knows how Bernie would have done against Donald Trump.
True, very true. Let me move to the judicial action on Trump's executive order, the temporary travel ban for individuals from those 7 countries in question. The Ninth Circuit declined to hear the appeal. This is going to the Supreme Court. Pence was on Meet the Press talking about this, not giving any ground to Chuck Todd on the substance or the implementation of the order. Is the feeling that they're going to win at the Supreme Court level, that the president does have the power to do what is contained in that executive order, and so they're going to pursue that irrespective of some of the concerns expressed by Republicans on the Hill?
Yeah, so the concerns expressed by Republicans on the Hill had to do with the implementation of the plan, and some of them, like our editorial page, think that the substance of the plan is misguided. The idea that it is illegal, though, or the idea that it is unconstitutional for the president to do this, always struck a lot of us critics of the plan as far-fetched. We said the president shouldn't have done it, but he obviously had the authority. And the only people who could take away the authority would be Congress, because Congress was the one who passed the law, the Immigration and Nationalization Act, that said that the president has the authority for any period of time he wishes to restrict any class of immigration that he likes. It's pretty clear-cut. The constitutionality of it has never been challenged. My colleague Byron York at the Examiner has a very good point sort of laying out here are the different arguments on either side that have been made in court, and it's hard to disagree with the administration, even if, like me, you oppose the policy. So I do think in the Supreme Court it won't be hard to win. I mean, a justice who, even if he opposes it, is supposed to look at the letter of the law, and it's clear that President Trump has the authority to do this. So I do think it'll go to the Supreme Court quickly, and Trump administration will probably win there. And
part of that process, does Trump's team need to indicate an actual problem with the current vetting process?
Well, so that was what some of the judge was asking for. But again, if you read the letter of the law, the president's reasoning has to be that if it's in the interest of the national security, or if it's in the national interest, is what the president has to have determined. So then we get into administrative law. This is the real exciting stuff. This is the part that lawyers slept through in law school. It's did they make an argument sort of while putting forward this rule as to why it was needed, why this ban was needed. And if it's just Trump saying, until we know what the heck is going on here, that doesn't count as an argument. But if he can point to saying, the refugee process hasn't been overhauled in many years, these countries, as we know, were named countries of special concern in a law passed under the Obama administration. So the idea that it's discriminatory seems to me to be wiped out by that fact, that they're citing a 2015 law. The idea that it was sort of implemented properly, it could become sort of an administrative procedure case, but as far as fundamental constitutional rights and being discriminatory and that sort of thing, it seems to me that the pre-existing law that President Obama signed wipes that argument off the table.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, are we moving, despite the bluster in the initial hours after the announcement, we moving to a relatively easy confirmation for Neil Gorsuch?
Oh, yeah. The Gorsuch is going to get confirmed. Will the Democrats block a vote, thus pushing Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, to invoke the nuclear option and wipe out the filibuster for Supreme Court nominees? That's the only question. And some Democrats think maybe they should, if they've got that sort of chess move that forces McConnell's hand, that they should save it for a more controversial judge. Because the fact is, Gorsuch was confirmed unanimously for the lower court nomination. And so for Democrats now, it's all tactics. Opposing him is a tactic, and if they let him go through, it's a tactic. I'm not going to say I'm inside Chuck Schumer's mind. Nobody on the Democratic Party actually thinks they can block Gorsuch. If they say that, they're just trying to raise money from you. The question is, what will be their tactics for fighting? Because they do have to fight. The base wants a fight from them, but they also may think that they have limited amount of ammo, and they may want to save some of that for a later fight.
And what's the latest, greatest handle on the DeVos confirmation for Education Secretary?
So basically all 100 senators have stated their position. You've got two Republicans, that's Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine, saying no. But the one waffling Republican, Deb Fisher of Nebraska, said she was on board. So that gives DeVos 50 votes. The vice president is Mike Pence, but it means that they can't confirm Sessions to be Attorney General until after they confirm DeVos, because they need that 50th vote, that Alabama Senate vote. So the Democrats are using this furiously to fundraise. It taps right in. We had an editorial in the Examiner over the weekend saying the fact that they're picking that fight instead of the Sessions fight shows that this is really about playing to their donor base, playing to the teachers' unions. Right. They know that the Secretary of Education doesn't have that big of a difference on the way local school districts are run. Hopefully, and DeVos speaks that way. And so this is just, their teachers' unions are really upset, their base is really upset, and they're not going to get a scalp, but they're hoping to at least draw some blood. And so she'll get through, and it might be Mike Pence's very first vote as president of the U.S. Senate.
There you go. All right. He is Tim Carney, commentary editor for the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. Tim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good one.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.